So growing up in my household, my grandma always said, don't open your fucking doors after a certain time of night. Because after a certain time of night, there ain't shit out there but trouble. And my mom would always say, during a certain time of night, she was like, honey, there ain't nothing open but a hospital or a pair of legs. So I say all that to say, I was recently reading After the Rain, this graphic novel about like Nigerian and African folklore. And in the back of the book, there's this author, Nnedi Okorafor. Sorry if I butchered your name. The graphic novel was created by a guy named John Jennings. However, he took from her short story and made this beautiful work of art. So in the back, she talks about the inspiration of the story, because the story starts off, the main character is an American police officer. She goes back home to a Nigerian village to visit her grandmother and her great auntie. And during this rainstorm, she hears a knock at the door. And you know, in them African villages, it's very mystical. And they're like, don't answer, no knocks at the door at a certain time of night. But of course, her not being superstitious per se, she don't believe it. So she goes to answer the door, and it's a little boy with his head half blown off. And he speaks to her in like an Igbo language. And then he says, tag, you're it. And then pretty much puts the spirits on her. And then a couple days later, when she sees the boy in the village or the marketplace, he is completely fine now. And now for the main character, supernatural shit starts to plague her and the spirits start to come after her. So back to the back of the page where the true story it originates from. So pretty much this woman, Nnedi Okorafor, she's like a Chicago professor. She was talking to one of her co-workers who's like the head of liberal arts. And she told her how her friend, who's Ghanaian, was visiting her home village from the States. And one evening he heard a knock at the door. He goes to open it, and there's a boy in the doorway with half of his head blown off. He slams it, of course, because that's some scary shit. But of course, he opens it again to see, like, is my mind playing tricks on me? And the boy is gone. The next day, he saw the boy in a field playing soccer perfectly fine. Now, of course, I don't care if you're a believer of stuff like that. I'm not here to make a believer out of you. But growing up, I was always told, like, you know, you never whistle outside after night. That's like the basic shit everybody knows. And, you know, some people will whistle and nothing will happen. But I was just always raised on, like, you know, after a certain time, that door is locked and you ain't coming and you ain't going. And I love how the book made me realize no matter how far apart we are, a lot of us still have the same superstitions, and we know better than to answer that door at certain times of night. Because it's just something about them early spirit hours you just don't fuck with.